Welcome back to Storytime with Miss W. Today I am reading The Lonely Man. This is an Abenaki legend. That is another indigenous people, another tribe. Can you say Abenaki? Good. Here we go. Long, long ago, the first people did not know how to make fire for warmth or cooking. They wandered the land in search of food. They ate roots that they dug from the earth. In summer, they picked nuts, fruits, and berries that they found on wild plants. But in winter, the people were often hungry. At that time, a young man lived alone, far from other people. When winter came, he suffered from cold and hunger. He ate the bark that he stripped from trees and dug under the snow to find roots. He made a shelter from trees but shivered during the long, cold nights. Worse than the hunger and the cold, though, was his loneliness. The young man yearned for someone he could talk to. Winter changed slowly into spring. Snow melted, filling the steep hillside streams with cold, rushing water. The sun warmed the soil and wild flowers bloomed. The coming spring made the young man feel hopeful. From a high peak, the young man looked out at the rugged land. He saw the tops of pine trees and the feathery new leaves of birch trees. Mist rose from sparkling lakes. Streams poured into a raging river. The land was filled with life, but not with people. He examined every patch of landscape, but he saw nobody. His mood sank. The young man felt more desolate than ever. The young man's loneliness grew deeper. He lost his appetite and stopped looking for food. He lay down by the bank of a stream and slept. Suddenly, the snap of a twig underfoot awakened him. Someone was near. At first he was frightened, but then he heard a gentle voice. "I am here," the voice said. The young man looked up and saw a stranger. She was a woman with hair unlike any he had ever seen. It was long, the color of the pale winter sun, and it seemed to float around her head. The young man tried to approach the woman. She looked at him fondly, but drew farther away. The young man pleaded with her to stay and keep him company so he would not be lonely. The woman finally agreed. "I will never leave you alone," she said, "but you must do exactly what I tell you to do." Without pausing, the man promised to obey her. The woman led him down the mountainside. For days and nights he followed her. They crossed rocky streams and traveled through endless forests. At last they reached a grassy meadow near a river. The grass was dry and brown. Here they rested. The woman said, "Find 2 dry sticks." The young man obeyed as he promised. He found 2 very dry sticks. "Rub them together fast while you hold them in the grass," she instructed. Once again, he did as he was told. A spark flew out from the sticks, and the grass caught fire. The fire quickly covered the meadow. When the fire died away, all that was left was brown, black earth. The woman said, "When the sun sets, carry me so that my hair sweeps over the ground. Wherever my hair touches the ground, plants will spring up from the earth. From those plants you will see my hair coming up between the leaves." That evening the young man lifted the woman in his arms. He barely felt the weight of her body, and as her hair swept over the ground, she grew lighter and lighter. Then suddenly he was holding only air. The woman was gone. The young man looked around him at the meadow. The ground there was no longer bare. Green shoots were reaching toward the sun. Soon the plants grew taller. Soon after, he saw the hair that the woman promised he would see. People were drawn to the plants and came to share the special food, the first corn. More and more people came. Soon a village grew by the field of corn. The man was never lonely again. To this day, whenever the people hold ears of corn and touch the pale yellow strands of corn silk, they remember the mysterious woman with the long pale hair, and they are thankful that she came, and they are thankful that she kept her promise and never left them alone. About the Abenaki. The Abenaki lived in villages in the northeast United States. They lived by hunting, fishing, gathering wild plants, and growing corn, beans, and squash. Abenaki stories like this legend were passed down from one generation to the next. They were meant to entertain and to teach people in the community. Do you guys remember us reading about 3 things that the Native Americans would trade with our colonists? Do you see it? Corn, beans, and squash. Do you remember what they called that? The 3 sisters. There we go. This is the second story that Miss W's read that is asking us to compare and contrast. How can you compare the lonely man with the woman? Do they have things in common? Things that are similar? Do they have things that are different? Make a list if you can. Bye.